of Time community, and welcome to the Wheel of Time Pod-Thru. I'm Teresa.
And I'm Tim.
And together, we finished the Dragon Reborn.
Yay!
30 episodes, y'all. It has been a long road. And we want to thank all of you for sticking with us through the entirety of Season 3 of the Wheel of Time Pod-Thru. No matter if you've been here since our first episode, or if you recently found us and have been trying to catch up, we're so happy that you found us and have joined us on this ride.
In this episode, we want to give you our closing thoughts on the Dragon Reborn and let you know what to expect for the next season of the Wheel of Time Pod-Thru. Season 4 already. Can you believe it?
No, I cannot. But before we get started, I personally just want to thank all of you who sent such lovely messages of support and well wishes while I was so sick. I really appreciate each of you who reached out. I'm doing much better now that I'm over the pneumonia and the lingering cough that went with it. Some of you know that I recently had a minor surgery, so I'm still recovering from that. But I am definitely moving towards health slowly but surely. So thank you all so much for your patience as we had to miss a couple episodes and your support. It means a lot.
Yeah, it does. To wrap up the Dragon Reborn, we want to talk about what our favorite part was, what our least favorite part was, and how we feel the book fits into the overall arc of the series. So let's start with what our favorite parts of the Dragon Reborn are.
Okay, do you want to start?
Sure, I'll go first. Probably one of my most favorite parts is Matt's lucky night.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
It's just magical. I mean, you relive this like total wish fulfillment of being able to just walk in and like throw the dice and make money left and right, and you just can't lose. I mean,
yeah.
And he meets up with Tom again.
Yes.
We're reunited with Tom. It's just that whole part of the story where we just finally get this breath of fresh air of this new Matt who's so different than the asshat we had in the last book. I mean, seriously,
Right.
Dagger Matt and all that was bad. But now we get the new improved Matt, and it's just great. But just watching him walk through that night, and even when he gets attacked and he's able to fend off the people who are trying to grab him and kill him, like it's all just one huge big sequence of really lucky events, and it's really cool. And I love that part of this book.
Totally, yeah.
How about you?
Well, speaking of Matt, I mean, one of my favorite parts is a little bit before that when he trounces Gawain and Galad with his quarterstaff.
Oh, yeah.
I love that scene so much because, both of the boys are just being arrogant asshats and they're so overconfident.
Yeah.
And then Matt, troublemaker Matt just can't help himself. He has to set these guys down. And I love their instructor, Hamar.
Yeah.
How he turns it into a lesson for all of the warders in training. And he tells them the story about the greatest warder ever. And he was never beaten except this one time with a farmer with a stick and just the whole thing. And it's our first exposure to Matt 2.0.
Yeah.
And I really, really love everything about that scene.
That was a great scene. It really was. I also, we talked about this just a few episodes ago, but Perrin in the Forge.
Yes.
In this book especially, and out of some of the other books as well, this is one of the best scenes that Jordan ever wrote because it just sucks you in. When I read that, I just feel like I'm right there with Perrin as he's forging, he's swinging that hammer, and you can feel the flames, and you're right there in the forge with him, and it just like Perrin himself in that scene is totally stepping outside of everything he feels, and he's focusing. He's just narrowed in on making this thing into something useful. You kind of get sucked into the same thing. We're just here with him, and it's really cool.
Yeah, it's meditative, and
yeah,
it's just a really beautiful piece of writing.
It is, and I just love that scene so much.
Definitely. And speaking of Perrin, I also really love when he meets Gaul and sets him free.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoy Gaul as a character. And I really enjoy Perrin and Gaul's friendship. And this is the start of it. And I love from the very beginning, I mean, they are both really confused by the other, and they're both so foreign to the other.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they approach each other with such respect from the very, very beginning, and we get this glimpse into what the Aiel really like, and because they've just been described as savages this whole point. And, Gaul's actually very intelligent and very chill, and I love that Perrin keeps saying there's no fear sent on him. And it's a really cool interaction. And then I always love it when Perrin, fights the White Cloaks and kicks their asses. Like, I'm all over that. And, he and Gaul end up fighting back to back. And it's a really, really enjoyable scene for me. I really enjoy it.
No, yeah, me too. I liked it. It was great. So I know this next one might make some people mad, but I absolutely love when Elaine slaps Egwene. I mean, this whole book, we've gone on in length about it, but it's just like Egwene just keeps getting surlier and surlier. She's just more and more of a pain in the butt. And of all people, the princess slaps her and is like, now let's take it back a bit.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't know. It makes me laugh, and a lot of what goes on in that whole area of the book is really cool. I like it.
Yeah. I really love when the girls come across the maidens and Nynaeve heals one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Not so much like the conversation between Egwene and Elaine and the maidens, but everything that Nynaeve is doing in the background. All of her complaining and grousing and trying to work herself up and making and Avienda and the other maidens are getting more and more nervous. Like, oh Lord, is she gonna kill us? Like, what's happening? Like, no, anger is good. So, I like it because Egwene and Elaine finally figure out that that anger is good. But then also when Nynaeve does the actual healing, they're so impressed by what she does.
Yeah,
because it's the first time that Nynaeve really kind of unleashes her healing talent using intentionally channeling.
Yes.
We've seen her do great healing stuff before with her herbs and stuff as a wisdom, but this is the first time that she's actually intentionally why do I keep saying challenging? Channeling. Using the power on purpose. And it's really cool because, they look at how complicated it is and they're so impressed by her.
Yeah.
I just think that's really, really neat.
And I think my final thing in terms of favorite scenes from this book, is when they're running away and they're being chased by the Darkhounds.
Oh, okay.
And they go up that hill and Lan and Perrin's like, I'm going to do this thing with my bow. And Lan's like, no, dude, it's not going to work.
It's like, don't even try.
It's a cute blacksmith, but you're not going to take any of them down. And, if it hadn't been 5, or more, if it hadn't been a whole pack of Darkhounds, going after them, Perrin totally takes one down. Takes him 3 shots to do it, but he takes it down. And just, it's a testament to the strength of the Two Rivers bow. It's a great show of how much of a warrior Perrin actually is and doesn't even realize it. And then, of course, it's topped off with the epic balefire scene where Moraine comes in and just wipes all of them out. And it's like, where'd they go? They don't exist anymore. Moving on. It's just really kind of cool. I love it.
Okay.
Now that we've talked about the good, let's talk about the bad. What was your least favorite part of The Dragon Reborn?
I mean, I kind of have a feeling that we're going to say the same thing.
Okay.
But the teenage angst fest that is everything having to do with Egwene and Perrin.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, what do you think?
Well, it's my least favorite part is the whole trope where Egwene, not trope, but the whole part of the story arc where Egwene feels she needs to be treated as an equal to Nynaeve.
Okay.
And she's going to do whatever it takes to prove that she is Nynaeve's equal, and she is not going to listen to anything, and she is just going to be in her. Naine's face about it the whole time. You can't tell me what to do. I'm not a little girl anymore. It's just really annoying and really tiring.
It really, really is. And I mean, we harped on it throughout the entire book because it just kept coming back over and over and over again. So I absolutely agree. Like Egwene and also Perrin, but mostly Egwene. Just all the teenage Shirley crap was terrible.
And it wouldn't have been that bad if she hadn't kept coming back to Nynaeve for emotional support and a shoulder to cry on and other things like that. If she truly wanted to be Nynaeve's equal, but she keeps going back and that same mothering older sister kind of like doesn't step away from it.
She's crying in Nynaeve's lap after her accepted test, and she's asking Nynaeve to sing to her. And like she's constantly going to Nynaeve for support and comfort, but then like turning around and like slapping her hand away because she's like, I'm not a little girl anymore. So it's very frustrating. Very, very frustrating.
So if I was to pick my most unfavorite part of the book, it would be that.
Yeah, agreed. I'm also not a huge fan of parts of the ending, which we talked about in the previous episode. Just kind of how repetitive the Rand Balesman stuff is. And then the Perrin fail portion of the ending.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I didn't love any of it, really. Like, we could have just cut all of Perrin and Fail's bit for the last 4 chapters, and I would have been fine.
You nailed it pretty well a couple episodes back. Like, I don't think Jordan he just didn't earn it.
No.
You know, and he does such great writing on other parts of the series. That was the biggest part for me about that.
So for you, it's their whole relationship. It's not just the ending.
It's not. Well, it's not just the ending. Like it's literally the like antagonistic. Like they're gonna be at odds with each other from the get go, and they're not gonna really respect each other. It's all just knitting. It's all just bickering back and forth and nipping at each other like a bunch of pups, I guess.
Yeah.
And then turns on a dime, and now all of a sudden he can't live without her. So, yeah, I really did not like I am not a fan of the Perrin Fail relationship in general until much later. She has moments, and we'll get to them in the next book, but I'm not a fan of the relationship, at least the way it's portrayed.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I mean, honestly, for me, as far as the least favorite parts of this book, those are the 2 glaring things. It's Perrin and Fail, and then Egwene and her rotten attitude. I think their least favorite moments is just sort of least favorite themes.
Okay.
So how do you feel the characters grow and change in the Dragon Reborn?
Why don't you start that one?
Okay.
Because I'm just that way.
Okay. So I feel like Perrin and Egwene have a similar arc throughout the book.
Okay.
How, when it comes to the teenage angst and the surly, bratty, emotional stuff, they're very similar. Perrin, he tries in this book to figure out what it means to be a man. He starts out as a boy from the 2 Rivers, and he's trying really hard to assert his independence from Moraine. He's not this like backwoods farmer person that, she plucked out of nowhere anymore.
Okay.
He's growing up, he's starting to be a man, and he's trying to get her to treat him with respect.
Right.
He's trying to, call her out on all the secrets and manipulations. And he's sick of her treating him like a kid. He's sick of her treating him like he doesn't know anything. He's trying to gain independence. I mean, he wants to escape her, but,
Yeah.
And, in addition to that, he's trying to figure out what the wolf brother thing means, which is just sort of adding to the confusion of what it means to be a man, like how to grow up. And I
Right.
feel like, he and Egwene are similar in that. Egwene is in that transition phase between being a young woman and being an adult. And, as we talked about, she's surly and awful because she's trying so hard to assert her independence from Nynaeve.
Right.
She's trying to, break away from being not just someone that Nynaeve babysat and looked after, but also being her apprentice. So Nynaeve has had authority over her whole life. So she's trying to break out from under that. But like we said, she's sort of caught in when she is in trouble or when she is feeling off, she does still have that sort of little girl instinct to turn to Nynaeve for comfort and to cry on her lap and all that kind of stuff, which she keeps trying to fight against because she's also, like parents, she wants to be treated as an adult. She wants to be treated with respect. She wants to be treated as Nynaeve's equal.
Yep.
So I feel like in that way, they're having a very similar story arc throughout the book in trying to figure out what it means to be adult, how to get that level of footing where it's equal to their authority figures and really struggling with it. And then likewise, I feel like Moraine and Nynaeve are kind of on a similar path. Like with Moraine, she has to realize that she doesn't actually have all the answers all of the time. And running her games and keeping her secrets is actually causing some problems. She can't rely on her status as Aes Sedai to cow Perrin.
Right.
Like she's used to being Aes Sedai. People are afraid of Aes Sedai, or they respect Aes Sedai, or they defer to Aes Sedai. Perrin doesn't do that.
Nope.
None of the Two Rivers people, Two Rivers boys do that. So, like her whole journey with Perrin is kind of practice for her journey with Rand in the future.
Thought of that.
Butting heads against Perrin and him trying to assert his independence from her and, his demand that she treats him with respect and gives him information is what she's going to have to deal with Rand. So she goes from, absolutely dismissing him as unimportant to realizing, oh crap, he's Teverin too. I probably should pay more attention to him, which is something that she got wrong. And also having to humble herself a little bit and deign to address his concerns.
Yeah.
Because she can't keep herself lofty and still get anywhere with these Two Rivers people.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Whereas with Nynaeve, in a similar fashion, she needs to learn a little bit of humility. Nynaeve isn't the wisdom anymore. She's used to being the authority figure, and she's used to being in charge. And, when they went out in the Great Hunt, and it was the three of them, being led astray by Liandrin, in essence, Nynaeve was in charge. The buck stopped with Nynaeve. She was the one that was like, okay, if we're in trouble, you run, and I'm going to stay and fight them off. She was the one that took responsibility for them. It wasn't just that she wanted to issue orders. She took responsibility, and at the end of the day, she was going to pay for whatever happened. So, and when we start this book, she's still, she's accepted and they're still novices. So she is in charge. She is an authority.
Yep.
But they very quickly take their test and come on equal footing with her. And she has to learn, okay, I'm not a wisdom anymore, and they are now of equal status with me. I can't be in charge all the time. And, she spends time with Elaine, and she's like, wow, Elaine actually really does have good suggestions. She's got good ideas. She's got a good head on her shoulders. And she listens to Elaine. She consults with Elaine.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And Egwene, if Egwene hadn't been such a brat, I think she would have done the same thing with Egwene. But even so, she even thinks to herself, okay, I need to have patience with Egwene. Even though she's being the worst, I need to have patience with her.
Yeah, she does.
And she realizes in a couple places where she's done wrong and she apologizes, like to Matt. Even when at the end of the book, when they're floating him in the air and he's like, hi, this is a rescue mission. She's like, you know what? You're right. You're right. She puts him down like that was wrong. She still has a long way to go, but she's starting to learn humility, and she's able to admit when she's wrong.
Yes.
Which is not the Nynaeve that left the Two Rivers. The Nynaeve that left the Two Rivers didn't have the luxury of admitting when she was wrong because she was fighting against too many forces.
True. That's true.
Whereas now she's realized it's okay to be wrong occasionally. So both Nynaeve and Moraine still have a ways to go with this lesson. They're going to keep relearning it over and over again. But I thought that they were on a similar path.
Cool. So another character that grows is Matt.
Definitely.
Because we literally start with Matt basically passed out and going
almost dead.
Almost dead. And then he gets healed from the dagger. And from the moment that he wakes up, it's literally this journey that he's on in this book of trying to figure out who the heck he is. Mm-hmm. He knows that he doesn't want to stay in Tar-Valon. He knows he doesn't want to be around Aes Sedai, but he also knows that he wants to help the girls out if they ask him to do something. It's like he's stuck between this thing where he's still really loyal to Nynaeve and Egwene. Mm-hmm. He's also very much opposed to Aes Sedai. So he starts off with that at the very beginning of this, and I think we're going to see him go through that for the rest of the books. But as he discovers his luck, and as he kind of figures out he can do things that he wouldn't necessarily think he's capable of doing, mm-hmm. he just kind of lucks himself out of Tar-Valon. He kind of lucks himself onto a riverboat. He goes through an interesting journey, and watching him become this person who embraces that, by the time we get to the end of the book, he's actually starting to figure out how his luck actually works. Mm-hmm. It's not just him fumbling around anymore. He's actually figuring out how this randomness works.
Yeah.
But the one thing that doesn't change about him for the whole thing is that he still is dedicated to his friends. He still is willing to go into the stone to get Nynaeve and Egwene in the end, and Elaine too, because that's who he is. Mm-hmm. So on the one hand, Matt does do a lot of changing and does become a different person, but his core doesn't change. That's one of the things I like about him. Mm-hmm. Tom's another character that...
Big change throughout this book.
Yeah, I mean...
Especially since he's only in half of it.
Right? Yeah, so... We run into Tom, and Tom's basically just washed up in Tar-Valon. He's in the one place. He's basically hoping some Aes Sedai is going to remember who he is, bump into him, and probably bump him off.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they don't like Tom.
Severely depressed at the beginning of this book.
He's literally has a death wish, and bumps into Matt, and through his interaction with Matt, starts to wake up, and he starts to kind of become Matt's mentor. Mm-hmm. And starts showing Matt, and here's how you rig dice. Don't tell anybody. He gets Matt to a place where Matt's actually able to start to become a man of his own. Mm-hmm. But in the process of doing that, Tom wakes up. Tom finds a new purpose in his life. Tom actually turns around and wants to live now. So he's out adventuring with Matt because why not? They're going to go save the girls together because Tom kind of likes the girls too. They're all right. It's just an interesting journey that we watch Tom and Matt go on, each individually, and it's really cool to see them together the whole time. Yeah.
You know what's really interesting? As far as the boys are concerned, they all kind of struggle with growing up and turning into a man versus, the boy from the Two Rivers. But I think Matt struggles with it the least, because he had Tom.
Yes.
During this pivotal part of his life.
Yes. He actually had for lack of a better term, a role model.
Yeah, yeah. And Matt and Tom are actually very, very similar. So Tom was a role model for him.
Because Matt thinks back on his dad and lessons his dad has taught him. That comes up a couple times in the book. So it's not like Matt didn't have a good male role model growing up.
Oh, no.
It's just that actually having someone there to kind of walk you through it is
and talk
huge.
stuff through.
It's huge.
Yeah. Someone who's not trying to manipulate you or keep secrets from you.
Who would do that? No one in
And
this book
someone
does that.
who you didn't necessarily grow up with as a parental figure.
Right.
So you're not trying to break away from.
Right.
Yeah, Matt definitely had it the best.
Yeah.
So, all right. What are your overall thoughts for this book? Like, how do you feel the Dragon Reborn fits into the overall arc of the series? And has your opinion changed at all with this reread?
Okay, so part one, part two. Part one is, how does this all fit into the series? And Dragon Reborn kind of fits into this 3-part book. I don't want to call it a trilogy, but it's definitely like this is a bookmark. Mm-hmm. We've been heading towards this journey. We've been trying to answer the question: Is Rand the Dragon Reborn? What is the Dragon Reborn? Like, what does that mean? So we've kind of been leading to that all the way up to the end of this book. Mm-hmm. So when we get to the end of this book, we're about to launch onto a whole new journey when we get into the next book. So this book is the capstone on
the first three.
On the first three. So, like, Rand is actually admitting he's the Dragon Reborn now. We don't see him a lot in this book, but at the end, he declares himself dragon.
So there's no going back.
Right. Perrin is accepting his powers. He's starting to warm up to... that whole reason he's able to say fail at the end is he realizes, oh, Wolf Dream, I get it. This is my ability. And he goes in and he saves her. Mm-hmm. Matt figures out how his luck works. And that's just the boys. Like, the girls are starting to come into their powers, too, in various different ways. The dreaming with Egwene and all that stuff. So this is kind of like we've been collecting our superpowers, and this book fits into the whole story arc as in this is the capstone to that part of the journey. We're now ready to move forward and figure out, well, now that we have all this stuff, what are we going to do with it?
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that, especially because this is the last book where all of our characters converge at the end.
Right.
Like, even though they were separate, they all kind of work their way to the same location at the end of each book, and end up in the same place and interacting with each other. And this is the last time that's going to happen. So from here on out, when they go their separate ways, they stay separate.
Yeah.
And they just actually keep just getting further and further away from each other. And also, Jordan was experimenting with the POV thing in this book. He hadn't quite gotten it down completely, but in future books, he really picks up the multiple POV thing,
right?
And is much smoother as he's bouncing around through different narrators and things like that. So, I do think that the Dragon Reborn marks like a change. Like the future books are different than these first three.
Right.
So I think you're right in that.
So the second part of that question was, how has it changed? Has it changed as I've reread this?
Like your opinion, you mean?
Yeah.
I know mine has. Like, for me, I didn't mind The Dragon Reborn. I thought it was a really good book before. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I still think it's a really good book. I should say that. But, like, for me, I really liked the first book. I kind of hated the second book, but I thought, 3, 4, and 5 are totally solid.
Right.
Until this reread. Okay. And going through this reread, I have realized that I do not like The Dragon Reborn as much as I thought I did. Okay. And I think, honestly, it's because of Egwene and how bratty she is. Like, when I read it on my own, when I'm not reading it super, super closely for the podcast, I can just sort of skim all of the crap that she does. And not just Egwene, Perrin too.
Right.
But, like, I can skip over the stuff I don't like. Not skip over it, but just skim it, read it faster. So I'm not, like, dwelling on it.
You're not living with it.
Yeah. But for the Pod-Thru, like, since we're doing 2 chapters at a time and really reading them carefully, I was just stuck with Egwene for so long. just mired in all of her
Yeah.
crap. And I hated it so much. So it really kind of took some of the enjoyment I have with this book away. So I've got to say, like, doing the reread for the podcast has really brought down the Dragon Reborn, in my opinion.
Aww.
I still think I like it better than The Great Hunt, but not by nearly as big of a margin. What about you?
I realized this time through that one of the reasons I like this book more than The Great Hunt is because we don't have Paddon Fane.
Oh my gosh, yes. True.
I know that Jordan had very specific reasons that he actually liked the Paddon Fane character and why Paddon Fane keeps coming back from a storytelling standpoint, but I just did not like Paddon Fane.
Fair enough, yeah.
So we don't see him in this book. So I realize that now that I understand why, I guess I can kind of justify why I like this book more than The Great Hunt a lot better. But has my opinion of it changed? Not very much. I do definitely share the sentiment that you're saying that, you know, we lived with the teenage angst in this for a long, and it's dialed up more in this book than it is in others.
Oh, absolutely.
So for all of you who are sick and tired of us complaining about that, hey, we're through the worst of
now.
it. Yay!
Yay!
Well, I wouldn't say it's over, but the worst of it's done. We'll still have some more going into the first half of the next book, but it gets much better here on out.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't feel that that's lessened my opinion of the book very much. I still think that of the three that we've read, it's my second favorite. The Eye of the World is definitely still my favorite.
For sure. Yeah, agreed.
So what are you looking forward to in The Shadow Rising?
The Battle of the Two Rivers. 100%.
Yes.
Cannot wait. Oh my gosh. That whole thing makes me cry every single time I read that book. But like in a good way.
Yeah.
Like it's so well done. So well done. Everything about it. Like I cannot wait to go back to the Two Rivers and Loyal and just, oh my God, it's so good. That's the number one thing I'm looking forward to.
I absolutely with you on that. Just Perrin's journey of going from like Guy returning from traveling back home to becoming Lord of the Two Rivers.
Yeah, like Perrin really goes from being, you know, one of their sons to being their king in a way.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And it's incredible the way it's done.
Yeah. So just I don't want to gush too much about all the particulars of that because we're gonna have a whole another book, a whole another season to talk about that. But I absolutely agree. That is one of the high points. The other thing I'm looking forward to in the Shadow Rising is getting to know the Ale. Like
For sure.
We are going to the Waste. We're gonna see Wise Ones. We're gonna see how the ale culture like works, and we're gonna be really confused by it, but it's gonna be in a good way. I feel. So,
I really, really enjoy The Shadow Rising. I have a hard time deciding between The Shadow Rising and The Fires of Heaven as far as which is my favorite of the ones that Jordan wrote. Because they are both so good.
Yeah. We can talk more about where we're going to go later, obviously, but I agree with you. It is some of the most solid writing he did in those early books.
Yeah. I'm really, really looking forward to The Shadow Rising. Anything else, like specifically that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, more loyal.
Oh, yeah. Definitely more loyal.
Yeah, like he gets, I mean, I think you may have made a mention about this in a prior episode, but I think Jordan kind of didn't know what to do with him. And in the Shadow Rising, he figured out what to do with him off screen. So, but still, he comes back and he's a freaking hero.
Absolutely,
he is an amazing warrior and all that stuff in his own right. But also, he has a much more important function in this next book.
Yes,
so
definitely. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to The Shadow Rising. And I think that's about it. We hope that you enjoyed this wrap-up episode of the Wheel of Time Pod-Thru. we will be going on hiatus for a month so that I can get my health under control. I need to take a little time to rest and recover so that I can be back in full force when we do come back for season 4. Our current plan is to return on April 28th, and we will definitely be keeping you updated and post a reminder when we get close. So make sure that you follow us on socials or subscribe so that you don't miss the first episode of season 4 of The Shadow Rising.
Yeah, you don't want to miss it. So we want to make sure that we give you guys the best quality content that we can, and not just have Teresa be in good health as well, but we want to make sure we take some time, get the next season ready to go and off to on the right foot. Want to say thank you to everybody out there who's followed us on Twitter. We have 800 plus followers now, which I never thought it would be that soon. So thanks to everybody, and we hope that you continue to follow us. You can find us at Apple Podcasts or wherever your favorite podcatcher is. If you'd like to leave us a positive review, we'd really help us out. It makes us more visible for more people to find us. You can tweet us at Pod-Thru or email us at whatpodthru@gmail.com. Please let us know your thoughts on anything we've talked about this book or anything else, or just say hi.
That's WOTPODTHRU@gmail.com, or find our Wheel of Time PodThru channel on YouTube. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. You know the drill. Thanks, everybody, and we hope that the wheel weaves you in our direction again soon.